Yo, what's happening everybody, King GPL here and welcome back to our new Go Battle League video. Today we're going to be showcasing some really fun battles here with Swampert, Froslass in the back, and of course Noctowl safe swap. Now these battles here today were recorded for Discord, so if the quality is a little bit lower than usual, I do apologise here. But these battles were coached by none other than Jimmy Finn, who was coaching me through these battles here in Discord. Unfortunately with my recording it did not capture the audio, so you won't be able to hear Jimmy's coaching. But Jimmy did help me through these, and overall we went very positive with these teams. I learned an absolute ton here. Jimmy hits Legend basically every season, only using Shadow Pokemon, so I was definitely able to learn a few plays from him, and I was able to flip some difficult matches. I'm going to be doing more streaming in Discord, so if you want to be part of that, feel free to join up. I want to say a big shout out and a big thank you to Jimmy Finn. He has a YouTube channel of his own. He, like I said, only uses Shadow Pokemon and hits Legend. Really fun and entertaining content over there, so link in the description, go drop him a sub, and of course sub here if you enjoy this content. But let's hop into these battles here. We've got Noctowl and Bastiodon. So we stored some energy on Swampert, and that is one of the main things I learned here today. If you do stay in with the opening matchup, you want to make sure that you have Swampert ready for the Bastiodon that's in the back. The opponent aggro swaps in the Medicham, we'll aggro swap back in here, and the opponent does go for a move. We end up catching, I think, an Ice Punch right here. Oh, it's a Power Punch, and at this point we can just basically farm the whole way down. If the opponent does damage to us here, this is a good thing, because it leaves the Bastiodon with less farm. The opponent can go for one move. We're going to fire off the Shadow Ball. I'm not sure if this is super laggy for you guys, but the Shadow Ball does a decent amount of damage, and all we basically have to do here is shield once and go for the back-to-back Hydros. So one of the main things I did learn here today is definitely to bank these Hydros on the Swampert if you're going to run this team. You know, maybe throw one into the opponent and then dip out with, you know, like try to CMP catch with the opponent, and that tends to leave you in a good position on the other side. Noctowl was just catching everything here for us, and Noctowl really draws out the steel types. Of course, Galarian Stunfisk, you can get off multiple Shadow Balls, and that can be quite decent. So right here we have a difficult lead, we've got Altaria. Of course we want to get this on our Froslass, and we swap into our Noctowl, drawing out the Bastiodon. Again, sorry for the lag here, but we're going to go for a Shadow Ball in this thing, and try to get this into maybe a farm down range with Swampert. The opponent are not going to throw here, they're just going to go for the entire farm down. I'm hoping these are a little bit laggy, less laggy towards the end, because right now they're definitely a little bit on the laggier side here. We're going to fire off another Shadow Ball, and of course the opponent's just going to let everything go at this point. The opponent's in a good farm down range, and they're going to start firing off Stone Ages. Swampert can easily eat 2 Stone Ages, especially with good IVs, and we have absolutely no need to throw here. And this puts us in a much more, you know, comfortable position against the Altaria. So at this point we're hoping that Froslass can sweep. We're going to come straight in with it, and in comes an Azumarill. Now at this point I was tempted to bait, but as Jimmy would say, there are no baits on this channel. We go straight for the Shadow Ball, and these Powder Snows are adding up. Of course these are resisted Powder Snows, but Froslass is just an absolute beast with the attack, and you can just put in a ton of work with it. We're going to commit to a shield here, and at this point the opponent does fire off the player off. Now the opponent's getting into the point where we're going to farm up to good timing here as well, commit another shield, but the opponent's getting into avalanche range here, so this is looking really good. We're going to go for the back-to-back right here, and basically force the opponent to either shield or get taken out with Froslass here. The opponent lets it go, and we swap straight into our Swampert and go for the snipe with the Hydro Cannon. The opponent does let it go, and at this point we have another Hydro Cannon, or sorry, we have an Avalanche banked on Froslass, and of course we will win CMP against Altaria. We come in, no one-turn lag, and we do get off this move, and that's going to be GG right there. So really nice way of flipping that. Of course Noctowl is amazing for drawing out the Bastiodons. If the opponent doesn't have a Bastiodon, or any sort of steel type, Noctowl can just put in a lot of damage in the back. And into the next match here we've got a Galar Weezing. I'm building up to above the Earthquake here, because I'm expecting the opponent to swap out. They go for a Brutal Swing, which does a nice little chip into the Swampert, and we both simul swap out. We come in to Noctowl versus Medi, and at this point we'll see what the opponent wants to do. We can eat an Ice Punch easily on this big owl. This big owl does not care about Ice Punches too much. We're going to go for a Sky Attack, the opponent lets it go as well. Now at this point, an Ice Punch would take out, but we've got the opponent into Mudshot down range. So at this point, this is absolutely fine. We can just Mudshot down with the Swampert and see what the opponent wants to come in with. We're up to 100 energy here, so I just fire straight off the Hydro Cannon, thinking it might just about take out the Weezing. Oh, it's actually, sorry, a Swampert. We're going to come in here with a Froslass, we're going to bank an Earthquake, and the opponent will most likely come back in with Weezing again. We're going to farm up to the Brutal Swing, which will take out Froslass, but Swampert with 2 shields is just absolutely deadly. And at this point we're going to come in and build up to 100 energy again, and we're going to fire off a Hydro Cannon bait right here. The opponent lets it go, and it just about does not take them out, and we are forced to shield. So the opponent goes for a Brutal Swing, and we have to get to 3 Hydro Cannons right here. We already have 2. It's just a question of whether we can get to the 3rd one in time. So maybe he should have Earthquake the Weezing there, but it was super close to taking out, so a little bit unfortunate. Can the opponent Mudshot down? They're committing to it. They just about don't get the Mudshot down. That was the opponent's win condition. If they had thrown a move, of course it would have given us a little bit more farm and good games to the opponent there. So we get a really positive lead here, Bastiodon with Swampert, and we're just going to start Mudshotting this boy, and in comes Bruxish. Now, in hindsight, I wish I had just fired off a Hydro Cannon on this thing, because this thing goes for Psychic Fangs, and as Jimmy was saying at the time, this is basically just an RPS team. They're using Bruxish with Confusion, Psychic Fangs, and I've had a similar setup of this before, where the opponent will double shield this. So my only hope really here is to get off another Sky Attack, and at least try to take a shield advantage out of this. We do just about to get the Sky Attack, and I'm expecting the opponent to shield. They do shield, and the Bastiodon is getting the alignment it wants. They've got the Froslass, and of course we've got Swampert. So we really just come in here and just kind of hope to, like, just come out of here, like, somewhat unscathed. The opponent does no crunch, so I was a little bit sort of scared that they would go for that. We're going to throw it in between their confusions here, and that will take them out. Now, I just have to aggro swap into Swampert and hope that a shield up, Swampert can take 2 Pokemon here. I fire straight off the Hydro Cannon trying to get the damage for in the Basti. The opponent catches on a Superior. We were going to need to do this anyway, and this is just a super rough backline. The opponent's playing a bit of an RPS team here, and by the looks of things, 3 Hydro Cannons will not take out this thing. The opponent's going to go for a Leaf Tornado, and they get the attack debuff as well. So there's absolutely no way we can win this at this point. We're going to fire off another Hydro Cannon, and that's just about not going to take them out. Well, they live that pretty comfortably, in fact. We can come in and farm down with Froslass, but at this point, yeah, like 2 Shadow Balls I don't think would even take this big, bulky, stupid-looking, wall-faced dinosaur out. So GG's to the opponent there. A little bit of an RPS team. I think in hindsight, I maybe could have thrown, you know, had I recognized that it was this type of team, I could have thrown the Hydro into the Bruxish, which even though it is resisted, that thing cannot take a move that well, and that would have left my Noctowl in a much better position to farm down. Or maybe, you know, it was going to be a little bit tough either way. We get a very good lead here as well with Registeel, and the opponent's staying in for a minute here. We're going to farm up to the Earthquake, and we're just going to go straight for the Earthquake. We'll see if the opponent respects it. They do not, and at this point, we decide to respect the Focus Blast. The opponent's going for the Zap Cannon debuff here, which is quite interesting, and they do get the attack fall. They're coming in with a Swampert of their own, and at this point, we're going to start firing off Hydro Cannons. We are a little bit ahead on energy, and the opponent is shielded up. We catch a Hydro Cannon on the Noctowl, resetting the debuff and coming out with a little bit of energy on the Swampert. And at this point, we'll see if the opponent wants to chip it. They probably try to go for a catch. We do not let that happen here. In comes Skarmory, and Skarmory cannot eat these Shadow Balls too well. They're going to have to throw energy to take out the Noctowl. At this point, this is absolutely perfect. We get to these moves a lot faster. I could have actually got off another Sky Attack there, but they're in Hydro Cannon range anyway. So at this point, we can come in with Swampert, go for Hydro Cannon to take this thing out, and we should be looking good here with Froslass in the back. The opponent has a Swampert. They're going to dump all their energy on this. I think we do just about live this Hydro, and I do predict that I do so. We get off another Hydro Cannon, and at this point the opponent is forced to shield, and we've got a full health Froslass with a shield in the back. We can live a Hydro Cannon from them, and at this point this is just kind of top left for the opponent. They cannot live an Avalanche from this range, and that's going to be a good game. Froslass is super strong at closing in the back, and that's how we're reusing this Pokemon. Depending on what the lead is, you can go for a Froslass safe swap. Like say for example it's Trevenant lead. Noctowl of course is your hard-boiled Trevenant, so you could consider that. Next matchup right here, this is why a Shadow Swampert is a little bit better. You can actually take it out with 2 Hydros. We're going to farm up to the Shadow Ball and catch on the Noctowl. Is this a Shadow Ball or is it a Sky Attack? The opponent threw the Shadow Ball into the Noctowl. The bulky bird enjoyed that one, and in comes Lanturn. The opponent stayed in for a little bit to gather a little bit of energy, and in comes Lanturn for the cleanup here. At this point, we're just going to try and get off as much damage as possible, and we'll see if the opponent goes for an undercharge here. They do not undercharge, and at this point we can come back in with Swampert, overfarm a little bit on energy, and just basically try our best to get this Lanturn out of here. We throw in CMP here, after 5 to get off the Earthquake, which would one-shot the Lanturn. They do actually shield it, which was kind of surprising at the time. We can eat another Surf here, and at the same time we're going to go for another CMP tie on the opponent, just to try and maximize energy as much as possible. And that's something that Jamie was really coaching me for here today, just trying to maximize your energy, really gives you the biggest advantage possible. I think that might have been another CMP tie here on the Hydro. Let's see if the opponent, yeah, so we CMP that as well. And this is looking really good for Froslass in the back. We've got a shield, they do not, we've actually got 2 shields. In comes Galarian Stunfisk. Now in this particular matchup, you go for back-to-back Avalanche. We've no need to do anything too fancy here. The opponent will only get off one of these Rock Slides, and Froslass can eat a Rock Slide. We're just going to go straight for the move here. We're actually overfarming just a little bit, going for CMP as well. Again, like that's what the real difference between this gameplay and my normal gameplay is. I'm CMPing just absolutely everything here today, which is just allowing just to absolutely maximize everything. I don't really need to CMP that, but I think it's just a really good habit to get into. So knowing the accounts of your opponents, knowing who wins CMP, that is one thing that Jamie really coached me through here today. So I was pretty happy with this at this point, and we're winning a lot of games, and we do start to see a lot of rough opponents here. The opponent farms up to the Thunder here, and a non-stop Thunder from this thing does not take out Noctowl. I was so shocked that this thing won CMP, but at least we're going to get off the Sky Attack on this thing, which is perfect. In comes Azumarill, and you know, since Jamie was watching, you know, I was on my best behavior today. I was throwing after good timing every single time today, and we do so on the Azumarill. We're just going to fire this next one off on bad timing just to get the move off, thinking that the opponent might want to throw an Ice Beam, but they're going to go for the Bubble Down, and they just about make it. So at this point, they're in a farm down range, but the opponent will have multiple moves here before we're able to get rid of it. So in comes Swampert, I go for the Mud Shot, and yeah, the opponent are going to fire off an Ice Beam. I was a little bit scared of the Hydro Pump, but this could be another Ice Beam here, and we should be able to tank this no problem. And we're going to maybe commit to the farm down. Yeah, we commit to the full farm down. And at this point, in comes Fairthorn. We come in with Froslass and just hope that Froslass can sweep again. Froslass is an amazing sweeper. Unfortunately, we're in a range where we have to shield everything, and in comes Cofagrigus. Now, the obvious play here is to go for the bait, and the opponent, like an absolute savage, calls the Avalanche, which, you know, it's going to be super hard to come back from at this range. A Shadow Ball with a one-shot at this thing, and an amazing call by the opponent. They're going to go for the farm down, not before we get off another Avalanche, which will force the shield, and we do have a Hydro Cannon loaded here. We're going to come in here and try to send it. The Fairthorn is getting pretty low. Can a Hydro Cannon take it out from this range? Ladies and gents, this is super close. Yeah, the opponent does live it with about 5 HP. So good games to the opponent there. And I guess just going for the bait cost me there. If that was Jamie, he would have went for the Shadow Ball, because as you know, there are no baits with him. And there you go. I think that was the opponent's win condition there, just to try and call a bait, because the Froslass was ahead in energy, and very well played by the opponent there. Absolute savage call. So with the Swampert matchup, the way I've been taught to play this match is go for the first Hydro, or try to catch the first Hydro on Noctowl, maybe like second time around. Try to keep the Hydro, or you know, keep a Hydro banged. We do not throw here straight away, and in comes a Hypno. Now this thing can know Thunder Punch, and if I can take Switch here, I definitely will. 1, 2, 3. We throw in good timing again before the opponent reaches the move. They can shield this here, but it would not be advisable, and the opponent's catch attempt did not really work for them. The opponent actually lets us get off a Sky Attack right here. If I were the opponent, I would have definitely taken out the Noctowl, because that gets the opponent super low. We even get for another wing attack, and at this point this thing is in Powder Snow down range, and we're going to look to sweep with Froslass here again. Again, Froslass, we can eat this Hydro Cannon, and we're going into the 2-2 shields here with the opponent, and they must not have liked what they've seen. Maybe they had a Noctowl in the back, and that's another good game. So as you've seen in that last game, and again, like something that Jamie really coached me through is energy management and knowing what to shield and what not to shield. In comes the Lickitung here. We're going to farm up here an absolute ton and look to catch a Noctowl. The opponent does not go straight for the Body Slam, and in comes Unovan's Stunfisk, which by the way are going to be spawning this weekend. I think in the research actually, so make sure you get yourself one of these, and of course a Galarian Stunfisk if you want one. The opponent goes for a Discharge. We can easily live one of those, and we're going to fire off a Shadow Ball here. The opponent is going to fire off another move, and let's see what they throw here. They're most likely going to take out the Noctowl. The opponent's baiting here. There's absolutely no reason to bait right here, and we're happy enough to let Noctowl go at this point. The opponent's going to fire off another move, and it is the Discharge this time. So it worked out okay for them. I mean, they lost a little bit of health, but now we have 2 shields to their 0. In comes Medicham, in comes Froslass, and yeah, we're going to Shadow Ball this thing out of here. The opponent can fire off one move. We're just going to let the Ice Punch go. They didn't even farm up, knowing that we'll reach the Shadow Ball. We go for a nice overfarm and CMP right here. And at this point, we're in just a super dominant position. The Stunfisk can come back in, and we're going to go for an Avalanche here. Of course, Avalanche would just absolutely rip through that thing, and the opponent's going to go for a Lick Down right here. Now, will the opponent throw the Power Whip? They throw the Body Slam, so we're going to go ahead and let that go. They're going to have to throw another Body Slam right here, and at this point, we're just going to have an absolute ton of energy. We're going to go straight for the Hydro Cannon, no need to take any damage on Swampert, and we're just in a super dominant position here at this stage. The opponent comes back in. We can go for a Hydro Cannon to take out, but the Earthquake BM is what we decide to go for here, and we kept both shields for next game right there. So what I really liked about these matches is, you know, I was winning matches in a much more dominant fashion, and this is going to be an interesting one. So we've got 2 answers to Whimsicott. I do farm up to the Hydro Cannon here and try to catch the Grass Knot on the Noctowl. We successfully do so, and the opponent will dump all of their energy here. In comes Bastiodon, so at this point this is not looking too bad here. We've drawn out the Bastiodon, the opponent has a Whimsicott in the front. I was trying to think what they might have in the back, maybe a Sableye or something like that. Definitely could be a weird one. And we're going to fire off a Shadow Ball here and try to, get this thing as low as possible. Now we're in the range here where, you know, Swampert is pretty much dead against the Whimsicott. So of course, you never shield your Swampert against the Bastiodon. We're going to farm up to the back-to-back here, just to allow us, because Whimsicott is kind of, we'll go for a bit of an undercharge and farm down here as well. The opponent gets off another move. Now this may not have been a correct play, and this is something we reviewed later. We're going to farm this thing all the way down. We are super low health, and in comes Whimsicott. We're going to come straight in with Froslass and straight in with Registeel. Now this thing, of course, can go for Focus Blast or Zap Cannon, and we basically have to try and shield everything here. But the thing with Froslass is, it is a super high attack weighted Pokemon, and these lock-ons are going to start adding up here. We're going to fire Shadow Ball after Shadow Ball here. I was tempted to go for Baits to try and like get a little bit more ahead in energy, but good thing I didn't, because the opponent lets that one go. They can easily eat that. At this stage, this is looking a little bit tough. They're going for a Zap Cannon, and look how low they're getting us here. They're getting us down to almost half health. We go for a little bit of an overfarm right here, and fire off the Shadow Ball. We'll basically come in and snipe with the Swampert, go for the Earthquake. I think that the opponent would have been in Hydro Cannon range here, and if not, we maybe could have got a farm down with Froslass, which I think might have been a little bit better there. In comes Whimsicott. We fire off one Hydro, they go for the full farm down. The opponent's farmed up to the Moonblast, and we're only 1 off the Avalanche. Can we live a Moonblast? That was rough. We just about don't live it. So I think just for like a super like RPS team where we're getting countered, you know, left, right, and center, I think we made that pretty close. And I think just maybe a few like, you know, miscalls in my own judgment here is what maybe could have swung it in my favor. But good games to the opponent. The opponent played very well, and we were definitely a little bit, you know, disappointed to lose that one. So hopping into this next battle right here, we've got a pretty positive lead for Swampert. We've got Lanturn. Now at this point here, we can eat one Surf from this thing, and the opponent will need to land multiple Surfs. The opponent goes for the Surf straight away, and we go for the overfarm. At this point, we're going to farm up to the Earthquake. We actually farm up to the back-to-back, and I think we actually waited a turn there before farming that move, just to make sure that the Spark went through, and that the opponent didn't catch. And a nice little thing that I've learned here today is to, you know, really make sure the opponent does not catch your moves. We go for the overfarm and catch. Again, leaving Swampert, because, you know, what Jamie explained to me was, like, what is the good thing about Swampert? Of course, it's the energy, right? The opponent gets to an Avalanche here, and we can't easily live this. So trying to leave with energy on the Swampert, and preserving it for any type of Steel type that might be in the back, is the most ideal play here. Unfortunately, the opponent does get the Powder Snow down, and I think we're going to have to Earthquake this thing. Now, we will lose CMP on the Swampert, and we decide to go for the overfarm here for that exact reason. We're getting as much energy as possible and farming up to 100. This Earthquake will take out the Froslass, and at this point, in comes Lanturn. We can go for another Earthquake on this thing, and this should take this out. So hopefully they have something in the back that we can deal with. We'll see what they've got. They've got a Noctowl. So GG's to the opponent here. We're going to go for Hydro Cannon, chip this thing and dip it, and at this point we're coming into our own Noctowl. We're basically, you know, 100% health versus 50%. They're a little bit ahead on energy, but these Sky Attacks simply will not do enough, and we were sort of surprised the opponent wasn't top lifting at this point. I did want to go for the Shadow Ball BM here, but the opponent ends up throwing here, and this last wing attack will end up taking them out, so good games to the opponent there. And yeah, unfortunately for them, there's just not a whole lot they could do. So good games. Definitely, like I said, I noticed just like a huge difference. Where, you know, that's a matchup that I could have easily lost if I was playing by myself. So I noticed a huge difference there. In comes Obstagoon. Of course, that's not really great for our Froslass, so if we can deal with this, we definitely will. We go straight for the Hydro Cannon, because of course we will win CMP. The opponent goes for the overfarm correctly, and they're firing off a Night Slash here. We don't have to fire off this first one, and we're going to build up to 5. The opponent gets the boost, and we catch boosted Night Slash on the Noctowl. Once again, leaving with energy on the Swampert. Now look at the counters add up on this thing. This Obstagoon is getting us very low. And I made a call here. This Obstagoon is going to shield this, because people do tend to fall in love with boosted Obstagoons. Even though it's on super low health, the opponent does shield it. Now at this point what we can do is again go for the sweep with Froslass. We have energy on the Swampert, and we're just going to try and... It's Froslass against the world. We're hoping that with this thing out of the way, we can sweep whatever's in back. We get the nice little farm down here. We've got even shields, and in comes Jellicent. At this point, I would have been tempted to bait this, but I do decide to go straight for the Shadow Ball. The opponent does shield it, and we do go for a catch on the Swampert. Now we have lost our energy here, so maybe it would have been better to shield in this situation, but I decided that Froslass with the energy is a lot more valuable. So the opponent actually, they bait the Surf here unfortunately, and in comes Noctowl. So here's the thing, Noctowl actually wins this in the zero shield scenario, and they're just going to reach the move, so we try to maximize energy as much as possible there. And yeah, we're getting super low in health. Will the opponent reach a move before us? They just about reached the move. We just got to the move. It was literally one turn away, and good games to the opponent. So I think we needed to call there, or maybe just go straight for a bait or something like that. Definitely could have been a little bit better there in a few cases, but definitely a very tough one. The opponent won that match by going for the Surf bait, so if I had have called that, definitely could have won that, but GG's nonetheless, and at this point we're just analysing this and you know, cutting it all down and chopping it up. So we've had a couple of disappointing losses here, but hopefully we can turn this around. We have a positive matchup here versus Sableye. The opponent might farm up to 8 for the return, and we just go straight for the Hydro Cannon right here. And, you know, of course, if the opponent swaps out, we'll just try to RPS them in the back. The opponent does farm up to the return, so I think we do respect it here. They go for the Foul Play, and at this point we farm up a little bit of extra energy and go for a catch on Noctowl. This Foul Play will do a little bit of a chip on this thing, but it won't put it into a threatening range. In comes a Lanturn, and at this point we're going to fire straight off the Shadow Ball. This would put a little bit of a chip into this thing, but it's not threatening. And the opponent shields their Lanturn, that is crazy. And they just go straight for the Thunderbolt. If you're ever in the situation as the Lanturn, you want to just basically farm the Noctowl down, maybe go for a Surf. We even get off another Sky Attack, we weren't just about going to reach the Shadow Ball, and that'll put another little chip into this thing. At this point, I'm just going to come in with Swampert and go straight for Earthquake. There's no real need for me to bait here. I think baiting is maybe a lose condition of mine. The opponent lets it go, and in comes Sableye. We're going to predict the catch and go for the Earthquake on the Dragonair, knowing that we have Froslass in the back. At this point we come in with the Froslass. The opponent does reach the move here, of course, first. They reach the moves at the same time, and they go for the Body Slam. We do call that, which is beautiful, and I actually let them get me a little bit too low. I'm trying to overfarm a little bit too much here. With Dragonair, you just want to get rid of it as soon as possible, because we're looking to farm down the Sableye. But we do have a shield here, and yeah, at this point, we're able to get the Mudshot through and take it out. So a little bit of a misplay by me. Jamie was like, get rid of it, get rid of it. But I was trying to get the extra farm, so that's definitely something that I make a mistake with quite a lot, and it's like trying to farm up extra energy against fast move pressure Pokemon. You just want to get rid of them straight away. So it was kind of a bit of a hilarious moment in the Discord call. In comes Springwater92, and they've got another Dragonair. So at this point, it's like, right, Dragonairs are coming through now, so we go into Noctowl. The opponent comes in with Basti. So we're happy enough to draw this thing out as usual, and we're going to go for a Shadow Ball or two here just to soften this thing up for a potential Swampert farm down. We actually go for another Shadow Ball here, and, you know, this is just pretty much, you know, firing Shadow Balls at the big wall face here. I think at this point what I decide to do is I need extra energy for the Dragonair, so I decide to go for that. Now, Jamie afterwards said, you know, that was a mistake because, you know, this is not a comfortable farm down range for Swampert. The opponent might be able to reach 3 moves here, and yeah, as you can see, they're just getting through to their second one. So I think what I end up having to do here is maybe, yeah, they swap out to the Dragonair. Now, what I could have done in that situation is actually soften the Dragonair up with a Hydro instead of swapping straight out. They go for Aqua Tail here, which is the correct move against Froslass, and we're just going to basically try our best to take shields off the opponent. So Dragonair is super rough to deal with, and you just want to try and fire charge moves against it, even if they are resisted. We go for the full farm down here and go for a Shadow Ball on the most likely Bastiodon that comes back in. It probably wasn't avalanche range here, but we were just trying to get rid of this thing. The opponent lets it go, and we're just hoping Swampert can sweep here. The opponent does have a shield, and they've got a Medicham, so I think, you know, I just let my Froslass get way too weak. We're not going to get to enough Hydro Cannons here, and yeah, this is going to be a good game. Definitely sort of bad on my part. I think the win condition there for me was chipping the Dragonair with all of the energy had on Swampert, because even though, like, you know, Powder Snows are doing super effective on it, the Dragon Breaths just add up so quickly. So I think that was a Pokemon that I personally struggle with, and, you know, I'm learning just a little bit of a better way to play against it. Today's video is a super long one. If you've made it to this point, I appreciate it, and comment Dragonair down below. We're going to do a couple more battles here. I want to showcase this Trevenant lead, which can be a little bit tough. In comes Azumarill, and I've seen a lot of Azumarills and resurgence of things like Lickitung recently. We're going to go straight for the Shadow Ball on this thing, and the opponent has built up here to potentially a play rough. We do shield it. I shielded it last second, and yeah, I was actually going to let that go. An Ice Beam wouldn't have done too much, obviously, and if possible, we're going to try and take switch here to obviously align our Noctowl to the Trevenant. The opponent does go for play rough. I was expecting another bait, and at this point, we're looking in a little bit of a tough position here. We're going to come in with this, and the opponent gives up switch, and we catch the Seed Bomb and Noctowl. That was unbelievable. The opponent's thinking, okay, that's the answer out of the way, but they did not know we have two answers. We're just going to go for the full farm down on this thing. I think I still prefer going for like a completely undercharged Sky Attack, but as you can see here, this is working absolutely fine. We're coming out with 2 moves and 100 energy for the Azumarill. In comes the Stunfisk. I blind threw, so this is a mistake. I was at 100 energy, so I wanted to throw. That's my mistake right there. You should never blind throw. So again, it's just a little bit of a bad sort of gameplay by me. The opponent's going to fire a move here. This is absolutely fine. The Azumarill's low health. They fired off the Ice Beam quite recently there, and we're going to farm up to the Earthquake and just keep over farming. We're going to outpace the opponent to the move here as well, and we're going to just Earthquake this little rabbit out of here. We can easily, you know, the opponent's basically going to Rock Slide bait. It's pretty obvious at this point, but we have no need to call the bait here. We can outpace, and this should be absolutely perfect at this point. The opponent fires off the move, and we don't even see MP. We get there 1 move before. So good games to the opponent there. And you can see like just a little misplay of my own that, you know, it's almost costing the match for me there. Still had a very positive day. We went 15 out of 25, and like I said, definitely learned an absolute ton here. Now with the Swampert here, we're going to go straight for the Hydro, outpace them to the Sky Attacks here. Of course, the Shadow would take this out in 2, and we do try to catch a move, a potential Shadow Ball on the Noctowl. The opponent doesn't fall for it this time and go for the Sky Attack. They're farming up extra energy for the reverse matchup, and we're up to almost back-to-back Shadow Balls here. We're going to fire off the first one, and these start putting chips in this big tin can. The opponent could just zap cannon us out of here, but they go for an undercharged Focus Blast. I just want to remind you here that I'm like in around the 2200s here, and a lot of these boys are sweaty, which is quite hilarious. The opponent does farm us down, and they're going to be able to get off a move. Now Swampert can eat a Focus Blast, but it is not comfortable to say the least. Now let's see what the opponent wants to do. They go for the Focus Blast, it lands, and they're going to go for the Snipe of Noctowl. In comes Froslass, and we have to respect this move as well. We're going to try and maybe CMP them on the next move here, and try to maximize this. Yeah, they were just about to reach the Shadow Ball. We don't even want to take a Sky Attack on this thing. The opponent shields it up, so I was super surprised about that. And at this point, they're allowing us to get a farm down and get the extra energy on Froslass, which is where this Pokemon excels. Most likely, we thought Reggie would come back in here, but they come in with Medicham. Now we go for the first Shadow Ball, and I am anticipating a bit of a catch here from the opponent. The opponent shields up the first one. We catch the move on Swampert, which is absolutely beautiful here. We eat the Psychic on that, and I'm expecting them to go for catch on the Shadow Ball. We do not let that happen. We farm up to the back-to-back Avalanches, which will allow us to outpace the Medicham here. We're going to commit to the Shadow Ball, and that's going to take them out. So definitely just really nice energy management right there. Switching in and out of Pokemon, going for catches, trying to like maintain a little bit of extra energy here and there is what really makes the difference in these matches, and generally we had some negative matchups, but we were able to take it. In comes Stunfisk, and I'm expecting them to maybe go for a catch here. They do go for a catch. I maybe could have considered Earthquaking the Azu, but I decided to come straight into Noctowl, and because we have the 1-turn lag, I go straight for the Sky Attack right here, just to get off the move first. The opponent will fire off an Ice Beam, and we can easily live this with Noctowl. They go for Hydro Pump, so I'm thinking, okay, Hydro Pump and play rough. We go straight for the Sky Attack once again. So I was throwing in a little bit of bad timing here. The opponent is maybe considering going for the Bubble Down, but the great thing is they've dumped their energy. Now at this point we can consider, I should have went for an overfarm here. I wanted to take switch to make sure I line up with the Galarian Stunfisk. The opponent shields it as well, so the opponent does go for a catch on the Stunfisk, but at this point we have the alignment we want, and we can just come in with Swampert to go straight for the Earthquake. The opponent is most likely not going to shield this, and they do let it go. So in comes a Cresselia, and I have not seen one of these boys in a while. We go straight for the Earthquake. They're using Confusion, which is a little bit interesting. Typically they would use Psycho Cut. This is looking absolutely perfect for a Froslass in the back, just to once again sweep the match. They go for the Grass Knot, it takes us out, and we can easily outpace to the Shadow Ball right here. Yep, perfect. It just so happens to be 7, and that is perfect timing just to take out this Cresselia. The opponent just about does not get off a move, and the opponent top left. I think I haven't seen a Cresselia in literally months. It's a Pokemon that you see a lot in the Ultra League. But guys, that's going to do it for the battles today. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to watch these battles live, join up Discord. Once again, big thank you to Jamie, and I'm really kind of annoyed that the audio wasn't recorded for his coaching because it was really good. Thank you everybody for watching. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll catch you all tomorrow.